We're going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about growing. We're going to talk about how to deal with taxes. We're going to talk about how do you deal with taxes in regards to real estate. Shout out to, of course, all of you who have been supporting the movement. It's your boy Bobby from Mentourme.com. I appreciate every single one of you who of course, have supported all my platforms, who have been following me for some years now, learning and, of course, investing and creating wealth. Tonight, we're going to talk about something very unique, okay? This term that you're going to be learning tonight, as you guys know, I'm a life coach. I'm a mentor. I like to call myself a wealth practitioner. Everything I talk about, I practice what I preach. As you guys know, I do commercial real estate. Residential is cool, but at the end of the day, you make more money more effectively doing commercial real estate sales. A lot of you need to understand the world of closing deals. In the world of life, as you start making money, which is one of your goals, right? You're eventually going to have a tax problem as you make a lot of money, especially in the world of real estate. Tonight, we're talking about what is a 1031 exchange, how does it work, how does it benefit you, and why is it so useful in the world of real estate? Why is it so useful in the world of making money? As you make money, that's one issue that you're going to be going about in life as you're growing, okay? You're making money, you're good, you're happy, great. You invest into a piece of real estate, preferably, let's say it's a business piece of real estate or a commercial piece of real estate. Why is it important to understand what is a 1031 exchange? A lot of you don't understand when you have a property and you have made profits, okay, as they call it, taxable gains, okay, or they're eventually going to tax you on the level of ordinary gains, meaning this. You bought a property, I don't know, for $500,000. You sold the property for $700,000. A lot of you need to understand, we're going to talk about two different dynamics today, okay? And we're putting this in a mindset, hoping that by theory, this is a triplex you own. Okay, this is an investment property. You bought it for $400,000. You sold it for $700,000. You made a $300,000 profit. At the end of the day, you're excited. Oh my God, I just made $300,000. But what you got to realize is you're going to have a real problem. Okay, what's popping? What's going on with you? Because the $300,000 profit you made, you have to pay taxes on that. Now, here's where the issue come about, okay? You made $300,000 profit. You got to go to your tax man at the end of the year. Nobody really taught you how to structure yourself for the tax situation you have. All you care about is you're excited that you made $300,000. 1031s are usually used for, let's say, for example, individuals who have bought commercial pieces of property, who have sold commercial pieces of property in the millions, $500,000, 6 million, 10 million, whatever the case may be. I'm going to tell you why is this so important, okay? At the end of the day, making money is only one part of the journey that you're going through. As you grow in life, especially when you start investing some of the money you made, you have to start learning how to invest it, okay? And how to protect. So you protect your money so you can keep as much of it as you can. And one way of doing that is a 1031. Imagine this. You sold a $400,000 property, and at the end of the day, you ended up making $300,000. I'm going to give it as an example as you have a triplex as a first example. Now, you got to understand that $300,000, one option is, of course, at closing, receive your $300,000, probably buy another property or start spending the money. Option two is, hold on. That $300,000 that I just made on that commercial piece of property, that triplex, I don't want to receive proceeds. So what's going to happen is you're going to have a custodian company. You're going to have a third-party company come in the transaction before you close and say, hold on, we're going to hold this $300,000 and you're going to roll it over into another property that's similar, probably to have more benefits. Because here's what you got to realize. If you take that $300,000, you're going to get taxed that $300,000 on top of what you made for the year. So let's say for the year you made $100,000, but you profited $300,000 on that triplex that you sold, that you bought for $400 and sold for $700. Now you're getting taxed on $400,000. You got to understand that could possibly be $80,000 tax burden. For a lot of you that's in the world of investing or that's starting to invest, as you start to make money, you always have to think about the tax problem you're going to have at the end of the year. And this tool that we're talking about tonight is very beneficial, especially in the world of commercial. Because in commercial real estate, you're dealing with a lot of multi-million-dollar assets, 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, 30 million. So a lot of wealthy people or people who have commercial real estate assets, they are, of course, closing where they're making probably $1 million profit, $5 million profit, $3 million profit. So they don't want to pay tax on that money. They defer it. Okay. Let me first clarify this whole deferred statement. Because a lot of you, when you hear the triplex scenario where you made 300,000, or the commercial multifamily, hypothetically you own a building and you made $2 million, you got to understand the word defer just simply means we're pushing it back. That doesn't mean you're never going to pay taxes. That just means right now I'm not going to pay taxes. And how this essentially works is 1031 exchange companies, okay, is a third-party company, a custodial company that puts you in the middle of a situation where when it's time to close through your title company or their title company, the proceeds will be held in their account, in their control. You have 45 days to find a property similar to the one you have. And you have 180 days to close on that property. So in 45 days, you have to find at least 2 or 3 properties that actually was similar to the property you just sold. In 180 days, you have to actually close on one of those properties. Because you guys got to understand, the tax burden that you would have to pay on $300,000 if you sold the triplex and made $300,000, or the tax burden you would have to pay on selling a $20 million apartment complex could be very devastating to a lot of us. And you got to understand, imagine paying $3 million in taxes. A lot of you would not want to do that. So what a lot of wealthy people do, and people that are educated, when they make money selling, okay, a piece of investment property, which could be a triplex, which could be 2 triplexes, which is more commercial, which could be 10 apartment doors, which is a multifamily, which could be a warehouse, which is industrial, which could be, of course, a plaza, a shopping center. You got to understand some of these people are making as net profits $5 million, $3 million, $2 million, $20 million. So to defer the tax, meaning to not pay it right now, they're going to roll the money over into another property. Because how it works is this: there is laws in this world that IRS carry, right? If you do not touch the money, and the 1031 exchange company touches that money, okay, and you find another property that you have identified in 45 days, and of course you have closed on that property in 180 days, you do not have to pay taxes on any of the proceeds you just made on the properties you have sold. Because a lot of you, as you're making money, all you think about is, oh my God, I'm so excited I just made some money. A lot of people who make money, they don't even want to touch the money on it when they're closing on a deal. They're rolling it over into a bigger project. They're rolling it. This is why a lot of the wealthy stay wealthy. And a lot of you don't understand, well, how are they staying? How are they in a position where they're just never paying taxes? Because laws put you in positions where, and if you understand how taxes work, where you could benefit through companies like 1031 exchange companies. One is called IPX. One is called First American Exchange. These are companies that they will 1031 your proceeds into an identical property if you can find one within a 45-day stretch. And as long as you can close on it on 180 days. And why is that so beneficial in our world is that you're not paying taxes on that. If you sold a triplex and made $300,000 profit, you're not paying taxes because you rolled it into another property. The money never touched your hand. If you sold a $20 million property and made $5 million, you're not paying taxes on $5 million because you rolled that into another property. See, a lot of you don't understand the game of life is not about just making money. Some of you are having a hard time learning that aspect of life. How do you make money? But as you get more advanced and more inclined in certain areas, your game is understanding how do you save on taxes. And if a lot of you understand how this really works, life is not about just making money. It's about saving on taxes, because as you make money, you're going to have a tax problem. If anybody you know say they make money, they don't have a tax problem, they're not making money. Because at the end of the year, you should have a tax problem, because people who make money have tax problems. People who make money usually owe taxes. Usually, if you're making money, you're not getting a refund. That's not how things go. If you hear a person say, I make a whole bunch of money and I'm getting a refund, there's something not right about that story. Because people who make money, I'm going to tell you this, right? I'm 6 years old. The last time I got a refund was probably 20 years old. And the last time the government gave me a government check was maybe for $1. I remember they sent me a $1 check. I don't know what that was about. But as you make money in this world, I'm always teaching you guys the importance of having an accountant or a tax professional. Because in my world, selling commercial real estate, you see a lot of wealthy people roll their money into what we call 1031 exchanges. And what that simply is a third-party custodian company coming in, holding your money like escrow. And of course, if you could identify another property within 45 days and close on that property within 180 days, you don't pay taxes on the proceeds. And this is for a lot of you that want to start, of course, having triplexes, that want to have quadplexes, that want to have commercial investment properties. If you're in that world, eventually you want to have a building or an apartment building, a plaza, or hotel one day, you're going to want to know what a 1031 is. Because if not, if you ever sell the property, you're going to pay a lot on taxes. Wealthy people love to roll their properties and proceeds over to 1031s. And they keep doing this for decades. That's why they never pay taxes. 1 second. And a lot of you need to understand, why is that important? In the world we live, elevating in life, a lot of us, we're constantly fighting a battle of mentally trying to understand, how do you make money? And as you're fighting that battle every day, you're going to realize that it's easier than you really thought. If you really stay focused and make adjustments as you grow into whatever you're doing to make money. Because I tell you, while sitting down, like today I had a conversation with my homegirls, and it's so impressive. I'm going to be having a live interview with her actually next week, Tuesday. She's going to be live with me, okay? And imagine this individual's making roughly $50,000 to $100,000 a month, okay? $50,000 to $100,000 a month. Monday, she decided to make a call to me and say, well, Bobby, I need help. It's not help making money. I need help dealing with my tax situation and my corporate structure. Because, Bobby, at the end of the day, I don't have a money problem. I'm making a lot of money. I need to understand, how do I reduce how much taxes I'm paying? Where do I invest my money? How do I protect all the money that I have made? See, what a lot of you don't understand in this world today, the battle you're fighting is just the beginning stage. A lot of you are still in that beginning stage of battle. You're still fighting how to make money. But what a lot of you need to also start thinking about and writing down, when you make money, how do you not pay a lot of taxes? One of the things that you hear a lot of people talk about, first and foremost, you should do is have a corporation. And preferably the corporation you should have is what we call an LLC S Corp. Those are one of the best corporations to have. And former LLC in Florida is sunbiz.org or gov. And at the end of the day, you form a corporation. Then you have to go on IRS website, which a lot of you should or should not know by now. I'm not sure. You need to do what we call a 2553. This is a form on IRS called a 2553, which puts you in a position to have what we call an S Corp LLC. Once you have your S Corp LLC, hypothetically, in this particular scenario we're talking about tonight, you've bought a property, a triplex, a quadplex, or maybe 2 triplexes, or you bought an apartment building, or you have several apartment buildings. You have to understand, one day you might sell the building. One day you might sell these triplexes. One day you might sell these duplexes, plural, that you have. The question is how do you save on taxes? The question is, how do you not pay any taxes legally? This is what 1031s do. Wealthy people talk about 1031s all day. I realize in certain cultures, we're not exposed to what a 1031 is, because some of us, not to be rude, we're still trying to fight on putting ourselves in a position to get a condo. We're still trying to fight putting ourselves in a position to buy a house. We're still trying to fight to put ourselves in a position to get a townhouse. While we got other people fighting themselves to put themselves in a 50-unit apartment complex. We got people fighting themselves to put themselves to buy the next $10 million plaza. See, a lot of us understand there's levels to this, as Meek Mill say in his music. There's levels to growth in life. And what a lot of you are learning from me is not just beginner education, beginner financial education. What I'm trying to teach you guys is the next level. What's the how-to that you need to understand as you start to make more money? Because when you're making $50,000 a year, that's one level of education. When you're making $100,000 a year, that's another level of education. As you make $250,000 a year, that's another level of education. When you start making $500,000 a year, that's another level of education. Then you get into the $1 million, $2 million, $5 million. Then you have to understand more than what I'm teaching right now. Not just how to 1031. You need to also understand how trusts work. How does a SEP, retirement account, work? SEP. How does, of course, retirement vehicles work? Because you have to understand tax structure. A lot of us right now, we're still in that stage of trying to figure out, how do I make money? How do I make money? And you know what's crazy? Actually, I can't wait to have her on this Tuesday. She will be on my platform. Man, it's going to be crazy. Floor's going to be on the platform. Shouts out to her, giving so many women motivational paths to manifestation. She's going to be on my platform this Tuesday night. Make sure you guys are tuned in. We're going to have a 7-figure woman entrepreneur in the building this Tuesday, giving a lot of you gems on how is she making $50,000 to $100,000 a month. Not a week, not a day, a month, people. And I want you guys to understand, and when she sat down with me today, it was a pleasure, because she appreciates and she values my advice, because she realized, okay, at the end of the day, I want to be structured correctly. I don't want to be left with a tax burden at the end of the year that's going to put me in a position where I'm losing all the profits that I made. And there's a lot of options and opportunities in life that you have to understand how to roll your money into to not have to pay too many tax dollars back to IRS. Now, of course, the game of life is not to ever pay taxes. That's not how life works. But what I'm teaching you guys tonight, this whole 1031, if you have an investment property, a multifamily, meaning an apartment complex, if you have maybe what we call a triplex or a duplex or a quadplex, well, really not duplex. A duplex is more residential. Let's say 2 duplexes, now you're back into commercial. Okay, you got to understand, when you sell these profits, when you sell these assets, you're going to have a tax problem. The question is, how do you reduce how much taxes you have? One is you should have an LLC, S corp preferably. 2 is you need to understand the power of a 1031. And some of the biggest companies in the 1031 game is IPX, First American Exchange, Strategic Property Exchange. These are 3 big companies that you should definitely go read about and understand how do they work, because as you guys grow, not just having money in a savings account, that not growing for you, as you guys grow, you have to understand the goal of life is learning how to save on taxes. If you're not having a tax problem at the end of the year, that obviously tells me you're not making money. Any person, any individual, any entity that makes a lot of money will always have a tax problem. The question is, how do you attack it? How do you deal with it? A lot of you say to yourself, oh, I want to be a millionaire. I want to be wealthy. I want to be successful, whatever that is, because it's subjective. You got to understand, this is how people with money think. They're always thinking on how to save on taxes. And for a lot of you, you're constantly just thinking about, okay, I want to make money. Okay, it's great to make money, but do you understand how to save on taxes? Because I'm going to say this again. I want you guys to understand this. When you're making $50,000 to $100,000 a year, that's one problem you're going to have. But the good thing is that's not that aggressive, because that's not, I want to say this in the most respectful manner, it's not that much money. Because a lot of you work for companies. If you are making $100,000, you're paying federal taxes, you're paying Social Security, you're paying Medicare. It's very different when you're an entrepreneur and you're making 200,000, you're making 150,000, or even making 100,000. What's your tax structure? Who's your accountant? How do you do your books? These are things that are going to be very important. Who's giving you advice on this $5 million property you sold? Who's giving you advice on these 3 duplexes you just sold? Who's giving you advice on how to save on taxes for these 3 quadplexes you just sold? Because a lot of you, all you think about is, I want to make money, but you never think about the tax burden. Having a good tax preparer, I would say accounting, but I'm going to say this, or a financial advisor, makes a difference to your growth, because that determines how much money you get to keep in your pockets. And a lot of you don't realize that you need a person not only that is an accountant, a financial advisor, or a tax professional, but you need that person to really have said to you in a position where a lot of the things they're educating on, they have done. A lot of people talk about ways to reduce taxes on certain assets, but when you ask, have you ever sold one? They've never done it before. So it's funny to me, how can you teach on something that you know nothing about? This is funny, and you can meet a lot of people like that. Oh, I can teach you how to save on taxes when it comes to selling a commercial property. Have you sold a commercial property before? No. So how can you teach them how to save on taxes? It's all based on theory. And it's sad to say, even in the world of residential, there's a lot of, you find, like, it's just like a realtor telling you, oh, I can teach you how to flip properties. And you ask them, when was the last time you flipped a property? No, I never really flipped a property. So how can you tell me how to flip a property? How can you tell me what the return on investment is? How can you tell me what my IRR is, internal rate of return is? How can you tell me what my cap rate is? How can you tell me what my, of course, cash ratio is? A lot of people talk a good game in this world. And that's why I say, when you're on social media, and I want to say this in the most respectful way, you got to be careful who you listen to, because everybody's talking a good game, but have never really done any of the things that they're talking about. And this is why a lot of us, we go into a world of sometimes failure and negativity while listening to certain people on social media, because they're not practitioners. A lot of people that's talking on social media haven't done what they're talking about. They're just talking just to get views. They're talking just to talk. It's very different when you have practicality, when you have logically, when you have reality into the situation. You've done it. You're doing it. It's very different. So for a lot of you that's in the world of thinking about buying a commercial piece of property, maybe an apartment complex, 8 units, 7 units, maybe a plaza one day. People, it's possible. I'm in the process of doing it. Maybe not 1 duplex, maybe 5 duplexes. Maybe not 1 quadplex, which is 4 units, maybe 2 quadplexes, which is 8 units. You're going to eventually understand what I'm talking about, because, or you're going to want to rewatch this video, because when it's time to sell that property and you made a whole bunch of profits, you got to ask yourself a question. Do you want to pay tax on all that money? Or do you want to save on taxes and roll it over into another property? That's what a 1031 is. It puts you in a position at the end of the transaction where your proceeds get rolled over to a custodian account. That custodian gives you 45 days to identify 2 or 3 properties, give you 180 days to close on one of those 2 or 3 properties, and put you in a position where you did not pay any taxes. It rolled over to another property, and you made all that money tax-free. A lot of wealthy people use 1031s all day long. A lot of our community is not aware of this. 1, it could be the fact of exposure. 2, it could be the fact of lack of individuals owning commercial real estate. At the end of the day, people, I don't know how many times you need to hear this. You can't work forever. You have to have a retirement plan in place to figure out, how are you going to retire? And what a lot of wealthy people do, they invest into commercial real estate. A lot of wealthy people understand they got to retire one day. The question is how. This is why from now they start investing into duplexes, quadplexes, triplexes. They start buying up apartments in the urban areas, collecting rent. Then as they make profits, they sell the building, roll it over, go from 8 units to 20 units. Roll it over, go from 20 units to 40 units. Roll it over, go from 40 units to 80 units. And now they got 80 people paying them rent till the day that they die. And imagine 80 people paying you rent at $2,000 a month. People, do you understand how much money you're making monthly doing nothing, just going to your mailbox? But the question is, one day you're going to want to sell that property. And let's say the taxes is $2 million, $3 million. How do you not pay taxes? You do what we call a 1031 exchange. You get a company involved to be a custodian company at the end of the transaction. They're going to give you 45 days to find a property similar to the one that you have. They're going to also give you 180 days to close on one of the properties that you found. And guess what? You pay no taxes and it's all legal. Welcome to a 1031 exchange. People, if you have any questions, put your questions below. I thought I'd share this great topic with you guys first, because some of you have never heard of 1031 exchange. Some of you don't understand, as you're making money in the world of investment or investment property, whatever the case may be, you need to understand how 1031 exchanges work and how can it benefit you long term, especially in the world of growth. Because a lot of you don't understand, you're making ordinary income, and also you're going to also be making capital gains on certain investments that you have, such as stocks and, of course, investment properties. You got to understand how to offset your taxes by using a tool that exists, especially if it permits. This is your boy Bobby from Mentourme.com. I got one question before I get off. The custodial company, what K West says, the custodial company, will that be a company you've created, LLC, etc.? No. The custodial company, these companies already exist. There's thousands of them, okay? And these companies, whenever you're about to sell a property, you could call them and they'll set everything up for you. They'll also sometimes deal with your title company, whoever is going to be the title company to close the transaction, and they're going to communicate with them and do what they need to do to be able to do what they have to do. Because a lot of you need to understand, this is not you forming a corporation. The only reason I told you guys to form a corporation, first of all, if you buy an investment property, you want to have it under a corporation. That's first and foremost. Because if you're going to be repairing a home, collecting rent, you want a tax shelter your situation. And you want to protect yourself against lawsuits. That's why you want to have a corporation for your personal self. But if you're selling a property, custodian 1031 exchange companies exist. There's a lot of them. There's thousands of them. When you call them, they will tell you their procedures and how they work. And of course, they'll communicate with you through your title company and tell you who and how and what they need done for them to proceed forward with having you save on taxes, where you did not pay any taxes on any of the profits you made selling a commercial or investment piece of property. And this is so beneficial. And what's crazy is it's legal. A lot of wealthy people do it. IRS has different laws in regards to that. And it's very beneficial because a lot of wealthy people have been rolling over their property proceeds for years. Imagine paying taxes on $3 million. Who wants to pay that? That might be maybe $600,000. Who wants to pay that? Why not just roll it over into a bigger property or bigger asset and keep moving? That's how this game goes. People, this is your boy Bobby from Mentourme.com. I hope you guys enjoyed. Tonight, we're talking about a 1031 exchange. I hope you understood the value of it. What is it? How does it work? How can it benefit you? Mentourme.com. People, keep being great. Mentourme. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe to my Spotify. And, of course, get on TikTok, because I'm officially going to be on TikTok a lot more now. Man, life be so busy, but you got to keep moving into this world of social media, because there's so many people that want to learn. There's so much growth in all different type of platforms. Mentor me.